Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture. Very pleased to say I'm joined now by the legend that is Chris Jericho. Chris, how are you?
I'm awesome, man. Thanks for calling me a legend. It's nice ego boost in the morning. The legendary Chris Jericho.
Solid start. We should start off by saying congratulations, by the way, 40 million for Judas on YouTube, an incredible achievement.
It's unbelievable, and it's only been 3 years, which is not a very long time. And it's funny because I remember when we did the video, the day we filmed it, one of the girls that was in the video, she said, "How many views are you hoping this gets?" And I said, if we can get 3 million views, I'll be excited, because our song Sandpaper at the time had 1 million. And I thought, if we can do 3 times what Sandpaper did, that'll be huge. And we had 1 million in a week. So to have 40 million, I mean, that's getting into, it's not like, I'm sure if you go Google freaking, U2, beautiful day, they probably have 100 million or 200 million, but 40 million is getting up into the upper echelon of songs that are on YouTube. So we're very proud of that. And it still continues to grow. It gets about 100,000 a week still. So it's the elusive hit song. And when you get it, you got to just roll with it. So we're really, really happy about that for sure.
Yeah, exactly. I'd like to think WhatCulture helped contribute to that. We were playing it non-stop seemingly towards the end of last year in the office.
I actually have information that says who's watched it and WhatCulture is responsible for 20,532 of those. Thank you.
Well, you can also give a nod, I've no doubt, to Sammy Guevara for his homage, let's say, to it on a regular basis.
Oh, yeah. Wait till next week. He's even better.
Oh, goodness me. But we are here to talk about your new band, Kuarantine. You've got a new single, Heart of Chrome, coming out on June 26th. For those unaware, though, tell us about the band and how it came about.
Well, it's so funny. It's one of the positives, one of the pluses of the COVID era, is that everybody realized that you just have to continue to be creative and just continue to do things from your own house. The fact that we're doing this interview now, this is one of 100, maybe 200 that I've done since kind of the pandemic happened. So you can either fall into the Groundhog Day, every day's the same. I don't buy that shit. Like, either you continue to be creative and keep your mind sharp, or you just, curl up and just become obsolete. So basically, this is a band that was formed online. I've never even met the guitar player, Joe McGinnis. We've never met. And we've created 2 songs together with the possibility of doing more. And it was just a friend of mine, Kent, the drummer, sent me his drum take for No No No, which is a very double bass driven, like, he goes, guess the song. Well, that's No No No, because we're all fans of 80s Kiss. And 80s Kiss is kind of the forgotten era of this band, to where there's a whole wealth of amazing songs. And it's like, if you know, you know. And when he sent it to me, he goes, guess this. I said, that's No No No. What are you doing? I'm just doing it for fun with my friend Joe. And I said, do you need a singer? He said, we'd love to have you involved. Great. So then I got PJ Farley from Trickster involved, and I don't do anything half-assed. So let's make a thing of it. None of us have anything to do anyways. Let's see how far we can go. So we did No No No. We made a big deal about it. We had a cool name in Quarantine with a K. And then suddenly now we have airplay, like constant rotation on 10 stations in the United States, which is hard real estate to get, and tens of thousands of views on YouTube, because people are looking for new content. And here's this, like, we call ourselves the worst supergroup in the world. Here we are putting out this content with a very cool gimmick of this 80s Kiss obscure songs that sound very vibrant and amazing in this day and age. And suddenly we have a hit. And just to add one more thing, for Heart of Chrome, we actually went and asked Bruce Kulick, the ex-guitar player from that era, to play on it. So only in a pandemic can you form a Kiss covers band with the ex-guitar player of Kiss. That's the idea.
You mentioned, you're creating something for fans during this pandemic. It's your favorite era, your favorite band. What are some of your favorite Kiss memories then? What was the sort of catalyst for you falling in love with this band?
Well, Paul Stanley had a great quote. Like, he said, it doesn't matter what floor you get on the Kiss elevator. We're just happy that you got on board. And if you get off a floor later or whatever, I got on the Kiss elevator in 1984. when I first saw the video for Heaven's on Fire. I knew what Kiss was, but I didn't know anything about them. Really, obviously, like none of the songs or whatever. So when I saw this video, I was like, who are these guys? And that's Kiss. And so it wasn't Kiss wearing makeup. I didn't know they took their makeup off. And I was like, this is the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. Heaven's on Fire. It starts with his hands are on fire. And then there's just this backstage debauchery with all these chicks and they're making out and they're drinking and then the shower. And then at the end, he jumps through a hoop of fire. And I was like, this guy is my hero. Who is this guy? It's Paul Stanley. So I got into Kiss in the 80s, and that's why 80s Kiss is my favorite era. That's almost a taboo thing to say. It has to be 70s Kiss. Not for me. To me, I would take the 80s Kiss lineup over the 70s Kiss lineup any day. And sometimes, most of the time, that gets me, people thinking I'm insane. But that's why for Quarantine, like we have, like I mentioned earlier, this whole wealth of amazing material of these songs that no one really knows, and they're great fucking songs. It's almost like the Metallica theory, idea, mindset, when they used to do Diamond Head songs in the early 80s. Nobody knew who this band Diamond Head was, so when Metallica played these songs, they thought they were originals. And that's the same for us in Quarantine. No, it's great. Did you write it? No, it's from 1987. Heart of Chrome. It's from 1992. So, like I said, there's a whole kind of niche cachet of these songs. We can continue to do Quarantine for many years to come if we choose to do it. But the reason why we chose to do it now is a lot of bands are putting out new content because it's all about touring. When you're in a band, if you have a hit single, the real revenue and excitement comes from playing it live. Nobody can tour now. So really, a lot of bands aren't really releasing much. And that's why there's kind of this open hole for Quarantine to drive right through, because we have no intention of touring. We just want to put out some cool tunes. And that's why I think a lot of the stations have picked up on us, because there's not a new Shinedown song. There's not a new Fozzy song. There's not a new Hailstorm song. There's this Quarantine song that sounds pretty cool. Let's play that for a bit. And people are like, wow, we like it. Play it again. And so on and so on and so on.
You've talked a bit about how surreal it is, obviously, recording at home. Obviously, I'm not suggesting that bands record all in the same studio, but it is a unique scenario, like you say. How do you react to people saying that it's better than the original when it comes to No, No, No?
Well, once again, that's not for me to decide. All we want to do is pay tribute to this great song. So when people say it's better, I take it with a great amount of pride. And I sent No, No, No to Gene Simmons, and he watch your foot from the names that I'm dropping, but he gave me he always just texts like a thumbs up or a happy face, and I got a happy face and a thumbs up. But on top of that, he also sent it to Bruce Kulick. So Bruce said, hey, Gene just sent me No, No, No. I said, really? He sent it to you? And to me, that's pretty cool, because Gene and Bruce wrote the song. So if Gene heard this and then sends it to Bruce, that tells me there's a stamp of approval. And I would think that Gene, who sang and wrote No, 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 and then Paul, who sang and wrote Heart of Chrome, would be very pleasantly surprised and happy about the response these songs are getting, because these are their songs, but they don't ever get any credit. Like Kiss, okay, play I Was Made for Love You, play Shout It Out Loud, play Rock and Roll Night. We're not doing that. It's No, 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 and it's Heart of Chrome. So there's this whole little era of their history where I think they probably think it's pretty cool, because we've done, as if I could pat myself on the back, we did a pretty killer job of these songs. So if somebody says it's better than the original, thank you. What do you say? Thank you. And that's, like I said, once again, we're just happy that we're able to get together as friends. And in my case, making a new friend in Joe McGinnis. This is what rock and roll is all about. It's about camaraderie and connecting through music. And we got to connect with three guys that I never would think I was going to be in a band with. And then all these people that hear the song that love it or think it's even better than the original. That's what it's all about. That's what we're doing to keep people engaged, entertained in this pandemic.
You mentioned there No, No, No out now, Heart of Chrome out June 26th. Is there any possibility of future songs? I saw some people commenting on the video for No, 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 suggestions, things like Rise to It. They said your voice would be perfect for something like that.
Well, here's the thing. In Fozzy, we sing, I sing differently. Obviously, you hit some high notes, but it's much more controlled, and that's kind of our style. So for me to go into the studio and sing as high as I can especially with Heart of Chrome. That is a high song. When I told Paul Stanley that we were doing it, once again, watch your feet from the names I'm dropping, he said, if you can sing that song in its original key with the original melody, then I'll tip my hat to you. And I sent it to him. He's like, dude, that's great. It's awesome. It's really, really high. So for me to be able to go in there and sing that song, it's fun from just a show-off standpoint. It's like being Yngwie Malmsteen and just doing a killer solo. And B, it keeps my chops in shape, because we're doing a new Fozzy record. We're not recording right now, and I don't know if I have to get back in the studio next week or next month or whatever it may be, but it's keeping me sharp. So I really loved singing that tune, both of them. So point being, anything that Paul Stanley sang in the 80s, that's when he was at his peak as a singer. I would love to attempt. And there's totally a plan for doing more, because we didn't know what people would expect. And like you said, if you go look at the comments, play this song, play that song, do this, do that. And we can literally do this for the next 10 years, because there's so many great songs from that era. So we've already started thinking about which songs will be next that we want to do. And I think Kent even has recorded the drums for it. He's super excited. He plays for Luke Bryan, who I'm not sure if he's in the UK, but in the States, he's a stadium level country singer. And he's like, dude, the no is so hard and crazy. And I was like, yeah, well, there's not a lot of double bass in a Luke Bryan concert. So it's keeping his chops up to snuff as well. So all of us were excited to be involved, and all of us want to do more. And there's no reason why we shouldn't.
That is great to hear. Hopefully more stuff from that. Like I said, Heart of Chrome out June 26th. Now, we couldn't have Chris Jericho on, one of the leading stars of AEW, without asking you a little bit about all that. Of course, Double or Nothing marked a year of AEW pay-per-views. It's been an amazing year, not just for the company, but for you personally, of course. What are some of your favourite moments? Because I can't imagine you anticipated the success of Le Champion or a little bit of the Bubbly or anything like that. It's been amazing.
Well, I mean, that's not necessarily true, because I anticipated it was going to be big. I didn't anticipate it was going to be as big as it was so quickly. I knew that we had a chance to really become a huge entity in pro wrestling, but it happened basically within a few months. And that to me was the real pattern. That's my favorite moment. My favorite moment is the fact that we're able to do this at the highest of levels very quickly. I mean, yeah, like you said, Bubbly was a high point. The whole thing we did with Moxley was a high point. The whole story we told with Cody was a high point. The stuff we're doing now with Orange Cassidy is a high point. I just like being able to tell these stories and knowing, like, wow, we have total freedom in AEW to do what's right and entertain and give people a viable option and alternative to the WWE. Are we competition? Of course, by proxy, but we don't think of it that way. We're just doing our thing, and we want to give people an alternative, like I said, something different in what wrestling is supposed to be. And in our world, it's letting the artists be artists, be as creative as you can, and let's do it. We did something last night that I came up with at 6 o'clock at night. The show starts at 8. And in WWE land, there's no way that would happen. It would have to go through 10 heads of state and approvals and blah, 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 blah. And I had the idea. I told Tony Khan my idea, and 10 minutes later, we're doing it. That's what being creative is all about. There's no time limit on being creative. So for me, AEW has been very liberating. And it's been very kind of reinvigorating my love for wrestling. And a couple of years ago, I might have said, I'll probably wrestle another year, or maybe not at all. And now I'm like, dude, bring it on. Let's keep going. This is so much fun, and there's such a great roster of guys and girls who basically turn down all other opportunities to be there. We don't have anybody that's hoping to go somewhere else. We have people that want to be there and are doing great because of that, and understanding if we went to WWE, our hands would be tied in so many different ways. And listen, if you are in WWE or a fan of WWE, I love it. It's great. I was there for 20 years. I'm not bagging on them, but they do things differently from how AEW does things. And for me, as an almost 30-year veteran, I want to do things like AEW until the end of my career.
Yeah, we've seen such a variety of stars flourishing in AEW as well. We've seen not just your Matt Hardys, your Brody Lees, your John Moxleys, but also your Sammy Guevara's, your MJFs, your Darby Allins. Do you think this has sort of showcased the fact that if you've been elsewhere, your WWEs, that you could plough a new furrow for yourself in AEW? And is there anyone in WWE you'd potentially like to see in AEW in future?
So once again, our goal and what wrestling is all about is building new stars. So yes, you mentioned our future, and it's not going to be long before Sammy and MJF and Jungle Boy and Darby Allin and Scorpio Sky and all these guys are major headlining main event stars. But it was built on the back of me and Cody and a few others to where people tune into AEW. Oh, Chris Jericho's there. Let's see what's going on. Well, that was cool, but who's this Darby Allin guy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we need to build Orange Cassidy. That's another one. This is not a place where anybody who's in WWE can show up. We're very selective on who we take and who we want. There's a whole rash of layoffs a couple months ago. And I don't think, and nothing against everybody involved because they're all very talented. There's nobody on that list that we're really looking at. I mean, somebody might pop in maybe, but we're not doing what WCW did in the 90s or what Impact did. Like, if you're in WWE, come to us. Because we realize that that's not how you do it, because it just becomes a retread. We need to make our own stars. And if there's a few players, like, look at Moxley now compared to what he was in WWE. It's a different guy. It's not the same. Look at Brody Lee. They wouldn't even put him on TV for the last 8 months, and now he's headlining pay-per-views and kicking ass doing it. So we do have a select handful of WWE recruits, shall we say, FTR. They're another one. But if everybody got released, if the company ended tomorrow, we wouldn't take a lot. I mean, obviously, what's my wish list? I'd put Roman Reigns on the top of that wish list for anybody because he not only is a great worker, he's such a cool guy. If they just let him be him, he'd be the biggest star in the industry, for real. So that's a guy I would love to get my hands on, for sure. Just like Jake Hager. I knew what Jake Hager could do, and they did not let him do that in WWE. And now, once again, he's our killer. He's a killer. He's beating the shit out of everybody, and he looks good, and he's big. I'm like, how could you mess up Jake Hager in the pro wrestling business? So I put Roman Reigns in that category. So that's the guy, one of the few that I would want to have in AEW.
And you talk about the difference between WWE and AEW. To focus more on AEW, we've seen a lot of cinematic wrestling due to the current situation, as you mentioned. Stadium Stampede, we saw WWE do things akin to it around WrestleMania, of course, but Stadium Stampede was such a breath of fresh air for the wrestling industry, personally, anyway. What was it like being a part of that, and knowing you as being as creative as you are, and having so many different creative minds around you? What was the process like for putting all that together?
Well, we wanted to do a match in spite of the corona, not because of it. And that's what we thought. Well, what can we do that's different? Let's do a match. We're very fortunate in that the Khan family, who owns AEW, also own the Jacksonville Jaguars. So where we are recording our shows is in Jacksonville at a place called Daly's Place. It's an amphitheater that's literally, if you watch the street fight we had a couple weeks before the Stampede, it's literally connected to the stadium. So there's Daly's Place, there's the concourse, and then there's the stadium. So we just came up with this idea. What can we do when we couldn't do blood and guts because we felt we really needed a crowd for that in a double cage match and all that sort of stuff? Well, let's just do a giant brawl in the stadium. Sounds great on paper, right? But when we got to the venue on Thursday, because we were filming it on Friday, you walk into a stadium and it's a giant football field with 80,000 empty seats, and that's it. That's it. Okay, well, now we're going to have to get creative because there's nothing here. Like, what are we going to do? And so, what I really loved about the Stadium Stampede, and it's one of my favorite things that I've ever done in my career, is that it was 10 creative people with the same mindset and almost the same sense of humor. We play everything very straight in AEW, especially with the Inner Circle. Everything we do that's comedy is never treated as such. We play it straight. This is real to us, which is why it works. Mm-hmm. And we thought we put this together where everybody had input and everybody kind of went their own way. Okay, who's going to go to the pool? Okay, well, Matt and Santana, Ortiz, and Kenny, you guys go to the pool. Okay, and then Hangman and Hager will end up in the bar. And then Jericho and Sammy and the Bucks will be on the field. Okay, we've got that. And let's do this. And then everybody's thinking about what they're going to do. It was the real perfect example of what collaboration is. And that's what I love about wrestling, the collaboration element. So when we filmed it on Friday, it took us, we started at 9 and we ended at about 6 in the morning. And at about 3 in the morning, there's a huge torrential downpour that lasted for about an hour. And we were a little scared because if it keeps raining, like, what are we going to do? We hadn't even filmed our stuff on the field yet. We had just finished in chronological order the bar fight. So now it's raining. So then as it's raining, they show us, they were doing kind of a rough edit as we went along. And they showed us the rough edit of what had happened already. And that's when I was like, holy shit. Like, I thought this was going to be good, but this is better than I expected. And that gave us inspiration to finish off on a high note. And just kind of seeing that rough cut, so to speak, that's when I was like, dude, this is going to be so cool. This is going to be so great. And so what happened after that was when we finished at 6 a.m, they sent the tapes to Nashville on a plane. There's a private plane waiting to take those tapes to Nashville, which is where our production studio is. And then our editor, Kevin Sullivan, not the Kevin Sullivan, another Kevin, basically started rolling. So I went to bed I couldn't go to sleep because we were so hopped up. So I went to bed at about 9 and I woke up at noon. And then Kevin and I started editing it. And I was like, we can't have 10 guys editing because everyone will have their point of view. Let me do it first, and then I'll show it to the guys who move there. Problem is we ran out of time. So my edit was basically the one that you saw. So when we watched the Stadium Stampede, we're in Daly's place with the crowd watching, and I was really nervous. Like, I hope everybody likes this edit because, there's 10 artists, and I'd rather see this, or maybe the lighting on this is bad, or you can see me looking at something and you're like 10 people on the screen, no one's looking at you. And so we watched it back and everybody really enjoyed it. And once again, just a true collaboration and also done very quickly, man. We started at 9 p.m. on a Friday, and at 9 p.m. on a Saturday, it's airing for hundreds of thousands of people to watch.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, it is a spectacular piece of work. Like you say, everyone really gets a moment to shine in that, which I think is amazing to think, like you say, with all those different creative minds and stuff, you can point to every single person in that match who had a moment that people no doubt talked about afterwards. As we bring this to a close, we have to talk about your confrontation with Mike Tyson and the speculation about a potential match with him. Obviously, we've seen him in the past involved in wrestling, but not necessarily in a match. Is that something you're looking for, hopefully, eventually?
First of all, is that Lon Chaney on your shirt?
It's Sting.
Oh, Sting. Okay, I couldn't tell if it was Lon Chaney, London After Midnight version, or Phantom of the Opera. To answer your question, Mike Tyson and I have had history for 10 years, and that's why I really wanted to do something with him, because it's not just a random put these, we have this story that people might not remember, but I think about it all the time. It was such a great night, a great moment. So when I found out that Mike was going to be at our show, I didn't know he was going to be there for 2 appearances. I thought it was just for 1, but he was booked for 2. And I said, okay, we got to do this. And like you mentioned, Mike has been an enforcer in wrestling. He's knocked people out in wrestling. I'm one of them. He's done a lot of kind of outside things, but he's never had a match. So when we did that pull apart and that big kind of schmoz a few weeks ago on Dynamite, the mission for that was to kind of let Mike know how cool it is. And he already kind of knew, but he did something similar like 20 years earlier, but this was different, and he was really hyped up afterwards. He did a video that I did not know until afterwards. He said, "I'm coming back to kick your ass, Chris Jericho." I'm like, well, that's a good sign. He wants to come back. And the cool thing about pro wrestling is it's all shapes and sizes. It can be anything. It can be whatever we want it to be. So I would love to have a match with Mike Tyson. What would it be? Would it be a match? Would it be a boxing match? And people are like, oh, it's like Mr. T and Piper. Like, no. That was not good. I would have a real boxing match with Mike Tyson. I'm not 1/millionth of a boxer that Mike Tyson is, but I box. I box every day. It's how I train. I could have a fight against somebody of my skill level and knock him the fuck out. So if I get knocked out by Mike Tyson, I've been knocked out by worse. So there's that. But here's another thing. Could we do a street fight? Could we do a cinematic match? I think people would be excited about any of those things. If it was a street fight, something that you see every fucking street fight, like an aluminum garbage can over your head, right? Oh, we see it all the time. Can you imagine if Mike Tyson did that to me or I did it to him? People would be like, just you did. Oh my gosh. So there's so much to do. And the thing that's been really cool about Mike and his team is they have reestablished the aura of Mike Tyson. He has that aura again of a killer. and he looks great. And he's Mike Tyson. He's going to do whatever he wants. There's no rehearsal with him. There's no script. So I think now that he's reestablished this aura, like I said, this mystique, I think the best thing to do is to protect that for as long as you can. And a perfect place to do that would be AEW, where we can make whatever story that we want. So the idea is to do more, and I hope that we do. And I think we're working on that right now.
Yeah, you talk about the footage of him training recently and having him flanked by like those UFC guys, your Rashad Evans, your Vitor Belforts, your Henry Cejudos, for example. It's just terrifying. And I know you mentioned the original plan recently was Sammy Guevara getting knocked out. I still would not rule that out. And I know that someone like Sammy, who's just so talented, would make that part of his career like you did.
He's one of our top stars that's emerged over the last year so quickly. Yeah, it would have been great. But what did transpire to me was even better. I mean, when we did that, like I said, I don't want this to be a pull apart with, a couple refs and a couple. I want 30 people in the ring. And Dean Malenko was producing that segment. I said, get me a list of 30 people. I want you to write them down so we know we have 30 people. And we ended up having 31. And what I did not know also, it was more than 31 because Mike brought more people into the ring than we expected. There was people in the ring that I had never met before in my life. I've seen all day. That guy Gooch, the guy who ripped his,
I knew that was going to be one.
I never saw him. I had no idea who he was. He just showed up there. I'm not sure if he was drunk or if he was high or whatever he was doing. And that's Mike Tyson. It's like he had we had spoken to a couple of the guys, like Vitor we talked to and then suddenly there's all these other guys and they're like, who the hell are these guys?
It was the moment with Mickey Gooch standing in front of double UFC champion Henry Cejudo that really got me.
Well, and then getting severely pie-faced by me and almost worse until I was like, okay, he might be Mike's friend, so I'm not just going to kick his fucking ass right here. But, then we planted a couple of our guys in there too, just in case, take a bump, take a punch. So it was a real just wild and woolly moment. I think you can feel that at home watching it. This is not scripted. This is not overproduced. This is insane. And the only constant, the only voice of reason is me, because I know I have to watch the time. I have to make sure that everything's going. So in the midst of all of that, when all that's going on, I'm still thinking, what's the time? 2 minutes left, 1 minute left. Tell Mike to come back out. We have too much time. And then passing the message on like, the dog fell down the well. The dog fell down the well. The dog fell down the well. And we're just passing along, and Mike came back out. But somebody's got to kind of be the general of all this in the midst of 30 to 40 people just fighting and going crazy. And I think we pulled it off well. And it was such a spectacle that I was very happy with that. And I thought, what a great way to kick this off. And if we never see Mike again in AEW, it was still a great moment.
Yeah, as a fan watching that, it was, you couldn't really take your eyes off Mike Tyson for obvious reasons, but looking at you, who's kind of done it all in the industry, and that mixture of excitement but also fear of the unpredictable was really there for all to see.
Yeah, thank you. That was fun.
Finally, as we wrap up here, you've been compared to Bobby Heenan with your commentary recently. How do you feel about that? And is that something you're potentially looking to do? Not saying that you should retire from in-ring action anytime soon, but is that something you could look into going forward?
Once again, I didn't know. I mean, I've done commentary before and enjoyed it, but I've never done a whole show and never commentated on something that's not my match. The reason why I did that is because we had to film 4 weeks of TV in one day when everything got shut down. Florida was shut down. Atlanta was shutting down. So we had nowhere to go. We were done. And so we put together a show, 4 or 5 weeks of shows that Tony Khan wrote at 10 o'clock on a Wednesday night after Dynamite, with Thursday being the taping. And I was home that week because I had done the Release the Hounds vignette. So I just filmed from home. So I was at home, and I was like, well, dude, if you guys are doing 4 weeks, 5 weeks of TV, I'll be there. And Tony's like, you're going to come? Of course I'm going to come. I can't miss that much TV. And I was supposed to commentate the next week of Dynamite as it was, just to do something, And I said, well, then I'll do commentary because Jim Ross can't come in, Excalibur can't come in because they were in the West Coast. So let me and Tony do commentary. So we sat down, and I've known Tony for years, but we never really we never commentated before, but we just started rolling. We did 26 matches in one day, 26 matches one day. And we realized about 3 or 4 matches in, like, this is pretty fun. It went by so fast and we had so much fun. But once again, you don't know how it's going to be. And then the fans enjoyed it so much that it's like, you know what? I'd love to do commentary. I had so much fun doing it. My goal was to be Jesse Ventura. But when somebody said Bobby Heenan, it's like, well, there you go. If I can be like Bobby Heenan or Jesse Ventura, that made the matches so much more entertaining, but didn't make it about themselves. But if they had to make it about themselves, they have all the credibility in the world. That, to me, is a great commentator. And you're not taking the piss. Once again, you're playing it straight. But especially as a heel, you can be a little obnoxious. And what I wanted to do is, because there was no people there or minimal people, make some energy. So if we're watching a match, it's like, oh, it's a body slam. Or if it's, look at this body slam. What is this guy? It just makes more energy to it. So even though there's nobody there, I'm creating the facade that there is, because there's so much, oh my gosh. And I really got into it. I had a lot of fun. And I commentated this week for the first half of the show. And the plan is to definitely do more. And maybe when I'm finished with in-ring for good, I'll do it full time, like the great Jerry Lawler. But for right now, I think, I can do it as much or as little as I'm needed to do. And I think it's a very great benefit to put in their back pocket to know that if we need Jericho to do that, he can do it and do it well.
Yeah, there was a great tweet I saw after this week's Dynamite where I can't remember what match it was. Someone hit a brain buster and you reacted like a child who got a question right in a quiz. That's a brain buster. It's a brain buster. It was very entertaining. We hope to see.
My favorite line was when Jake Hager was beating up Orange Cassidy, and I said, "Look at Jake Hager. He looks like he's beating up a 15-year-old version of himself."
Well, we hope to hear more of you on commentary. We obviously hope to see more of you in AEW. And people should check out No, out now from Kuarantine and Heart of Chrome, out June 26th. Chris, thank you so much for taking the time to chat to us, and we'll speak to you again soon.
Thank you. Stay safe, man. Appreciate it.